While airplanes were developing on time, helicopters were trying to stay upright in the air. However, exactly 75 years ago, the United Kingdom came up with an idea that turned an airplane into a special aircraft. It wasn't exactly an airplane, but it wasn't a helicopter either. The Fairey Rotodyne was a hybrid engineering marvel. It was a marvel of an aircraft that took off vertically like a helicopter and then continued to fly with its wings spread. Thanks to its vertical takeoff capability, it could land in city centers. And with its turboprop engines, it could cover long distances at high speeds. The ultimate dream was to transport people from one place to another in the air. Direct flights from city center to city center, such as from London to Paris, were planned. It would be much faster than the passenger helicopters of the time and much more flexible than airplanes. However, despite all this technological grandeur, this vehicle had a different negative feature. It was very noisy. The hybrid's potential captivated passengers, city dwellers, and decision makers, but they couldn't tolerate the noise. As a result, the Rotodyne's story is remembered as a device that was too cumbersome for people who were lagging behind in technology. Test flights, goals, and questions. When the Fairey Rotodyne first flew in 1957, spectators watched in awe and found it difficult to comprehend that such a thing could exist. The beauty of this aircraft was that it took off horizontally with propellers, and then the propellers were replaced by engines and wings, allowing it to fly horizontally. This was a true combination of two technologies, one that took off like a helicopter and flew like an airplane. This idea caused a huge stir in England. Everyone was talking about this aircraft, and everyone wanted to fly in it. You could fly from one European city, say London, to Paris. No runway, no traffic. Just a bit of concrete, an open area, and this hybrid aircraft. Fairey engineers used a system they called the jet rotor. After placing the rotors at the end of the engine, they planned to open them to fly. During level flight, only the propellers were working, and the rotors were spinning freely. The sole purpose of these rotors was to lift the aircraft vertically and land it. In addition to increasing efficiency, this system allowed the aircraft to reach the same speeds as fixed-wing aircraft. At that time, helicopters couldn't fly very fast, but this aircraft could reach 299 kilometers per hour. However, noise was another enemy that came with this technology. Noise, the sound that brought about the end of the Rotodyne. Despite its groundbreaking technology, it was an engineering marvel of an aircraft, but the only problem was that it was very noisy and disturbed everyone. Solving this problem was still difficult, and no one could find a solution. The noise produced by jet engines is louder than that of other propellers, but that's just how it is. The jet nozzles at the ends of the propellers produce such high noise levels, especially during takeoff and landing, that it could affect the comfort and health of those living nearby. The noise of this aircraft cannot be compared to any other aircraft, and no one has been able to match it. This noise issue will cause significant problems during the aircraft's landing and stay, because everyone is experiencing great difficulty and discomfort. This noise was not appreciated by anyone, and everyone complained. BEA and other airlines did not support this project, claiming that they were being treated unfairly. The Fairey company made efforts to solve the problem. They constantly thought about how to make this aircraft quieter using prototypes, but this took a long time and required money. Yet they still put in a lot of effort. It took a lot of time, and the company's deadline for the aircraft was also approaching. Meanwhile, the British government was cutting funding for unnecessary projects and trying to pool its resources in the aviation industry. They thought it was pointless to allocate money for military purposes and were reacting negatively, as they could not afford to spend much money on this aircraft, even for normal use. Cancellation decision, the silent end of a revolution. By 1962, the Fairey Rotodyne was nearing the end of its journey. Although these issues were eventually resolved, the government had grown impatient and decided to pull the plug on the project. It was shelved. The Rotodyne's military potential was deemed insufficient by the UK Ministry of Defence. Cities like London, Paris, or other cities hated the noise and would cover their ears when they heard it. This time, the company aimed to produce a quieter yet more powerful engine, named the Rotodyne Z. It was claimed that this new model could increase the aircraft's carrying capacity and significantly reduce noise issues. The only thing being discussed was not noise, it was the government. Since the government had adopted a strategy to consolidate the aviation industry under larger consortia, resources were being directed toward larger companies like Hawker Siddeley. The inability of organizations such as BEA and RAF to place firm orders further undermined the project's credibility. However, 63 years ago, thanks to this government, the aircraft was shelved. The prototype produced up to that point never went into mass production. The government deliberately withdrew its support, meaning it did not provide financial assistance, and in the end, the project sank into the waters of history. Was this an idea far ahead of its time, or was it a failure? The legacy of the Rotodyne. Although it was not commercially successful, the Fairey Rotodyne aircraft taught flying aircraft a lesson and showed them how to achieve their goals. In the years that followed, tilt-rotor technologies, particularly in projects like the Bell V-22 Osprey, taught the world how to take off and fly like an aircraft. Additionally, the Rotodyne's failure demonstrated that political support, public opinion, and economic viability are as important as technical factors in determining the outcome of aviation projects. In short, we cannot judge the success of the project solely by its ability to fly. Its availability for sale, duration, and silence are equally important. Rotodyne's prototype can now only be seen in old photographs and videos. However, its concepts are still valid today. These are aircraft that are very much needed in the world today. Shorty, it was important to have an aircraft that could take off vertically, but was quiet and also inexpensive. Timing is very important in aviation. The success of a technological idea depends not only on the engineering knowledge, but also on the right political and economic environment at the right time. This aircraft failed to achieve that, but it showed other aircraft how not to do it. The United Kingdom maintained its global leadership in aviation in the late 1950s. The downside is that defense budgets are no longer as large as they once were, making it difficult to develop such aircraft, as no one is willing to provide funding due to cost concerns. Passenger aircraft with vertical takeoff and landing capabilities are still in the conceptual phase. Bell's tilt-rotor designs, Joby Aviation, Lilium Jet, and Airbus's City Airbus projects are still in the testing and certification phases. And this aircraft is the leader of these aircraft. If this aircraft were quiet, it would be number one. Energy efficiency, quietness, short-distance intercity travel, etc. All of these were achieved by this aircraft nearly 70 years ago, but since no one supported it, it was retired to the parking lot. Could Rotodyne have become an icon? Just imagine, if they had supported that aircraft, it could have been a bus that could fly instead of a regular intercity bus, but it didn't happen. Rotodyne's goal was to connect city centers with vertical takeoff express routes. In fact, they aimed to create very special locations designed solely for that aircraft to land, specifically to accommodate Rotodyne flights. If this vision had been realized, urban air travel could have already become widespread today. Sometimes cultural acceptance is used alongside technical advancements to measure technological progress. The Rotodyne was waiting for permission to fly, but due to numerous issues raised by the government, it never took to the skies. Like other aircraft, it has taken its place on the dusty shelves of history. History lesson. Sometimes the greatest power is silence. Perhaps the Rotodyne's most fundamental issue was noise. Comfort is, of course, very important, but this silent flight was essential. Yet they addressed it too late. With the development of electric motors, urban air transportation has once again come to the forefront. It's no surprise it was dubbed a plane from the future, but people shut down the project, wondering if we'd be flying in noisy aircraft in the future. Among its descendants are modern eVTOL, electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles. These offer hybrid designs, operate without needing runways, and, like the Rotodyne, provide direct service to city centers. Did you know that this aircraft is the father of similar aircraft today? A lost opportunity, a forgotten revolution. The Fairey Rotodyne represented more than just an aircraft. It embodied courage, foresight, and pushing boundaries. The design was far ahead of its time. Due to human factors and the technology of the era, this aircraft was lost. The spirit of the Rotodyne continues to soar in the skies, even as we seek modern solutions for urban air transportation. Perhaps the real question is, was it too early for its time, or did we simply refuse to accept it? Do you think this aircraft would be successful if it were built today? Let's discuss it. Share your thoughts in the comments. Because some revolutions take years to fully understand,